So what do you have you wanted to talk about today?
Well, you know, there was something in the news earlier this week. On Thursday, two very lovely women got married in Austin.
That was Friday night. That was on Glee. I watched it. Oh, in Austin, something
yes,
else.
in Austin, Texas. Got married to each other, not to dudes. Yeah.
What's wrong with
So marriage equality very briefly broke out in Texas.
I know.
And so I want to talk about that a little bit because our Attorney General has already tried to invalidate their marriage.
He's let his bigot flag fly.
He is letting it fly big time. So he's trying to invalidate their marriage. And I guess the story behind this is that they're considered what's called medically fragile. One of them has cancer or has been treated for cancer. We don't know, I guess, what her status is right now. But it was important for this couple for them to be legally married, in part because that confers a lot of benefits for the survivor in the event something does happen to one member of the couple. So that was essentially the basis of their petition, that they needed to be legally married because of this medical situation and that there was no other remedy available to them. So a probate judge in Texas granted the petition. It applies only to this couple, so it's not like this was something, you know, that was widespread. But of course, immediately after they got married on Thursday, several other couples petitioned or applied for marriage licenses. They were turned down because, again, the ruling only applied to this one couple.
Well, so when I saw the news first,
Yeah.
the report was that a judge had declared the ban unconstitutional.
Yes.
Is that the same case as the one you're talking about? Because there seemed to have been some broad ruling that this is unconstitutional and that she wouldn't stop them from getting married but wasn't going to extend it to everybody just yet.
Yeah, so this is, it is this case, but previously a federal judge in San Antonio had declared the Texas ban unconstitutional. That ruling was stayed pending an appeal to the Fifth Circuit, which is very conservative. The Fifth Circuit hasn't taken it up because actually the Supreme Court has the case. We'll hear arguments in April, probably rule in June. So it's very probable that the Supreme Court is going to stick this up Ken Paxton's ass, but and I'll be very happy about that.
And that won't be illegal anymore.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, he's wailing about.
Actually, it's not illegal now. We already struck down the sodomy laws.
Yeah, yeah.
Texas, as progressive as we possibly can be, given the
Yes.
nuts that live here.
Yes. Well, it's like, it reminds me of Molly Ivan's joke about the Texas ban on sodomy. After they voted on this sodomy law, some legislators were backslapping each other, and someone suggested that the state trooper in the Capitol should arrest those two men because thanks to the Texas ledge, it's now illegal in Texas for a prick to touch an asshole. So anyway, that was that actually is.
Well
there's a
done,
YouTube
Molly.
video on that. I think it's called the Dildo Diaries or something like that.
Yeah, that whole
You should watch it.
process was incredibly interesting to me. You know what they chose to outlaw, and the fact that you would hold up what is a marital instructional aid.
Yes.
It's not a sex toy. It's a marital instructional aid.
Yes.
We can sell it and you can use it. We just can't call it what it is. And if you use it in this way, it's against the law. I mean, it was just bizarre.
If you're in possession of up to 5, you're okay.
There was like
But if you
possession
have
with intent
6,
to distribute.
Possession with intent to distribute.
Contributing to the delinquency of heterosexuals. I don't know. So anyway, we got to the point where the court has agreed to allow these two women to marry.
Yes. And now
And
Ken
they do.
Paxton, yeah, they did. Now, this couple's been together for 31 years. Okay, they have 2 children. Both of them are the children's legal parents. They adopted these girls from China. One adopted, then because the rules are that one of them has to adopt, and then when you get the kid back, then you have to have the other party adopt them as a second parent. So they're both these children's legal parents. So, you know, it's not like this is, I guess, some spur of the moment thing. These women have been together for a long time. But of course, Ken Paxton is rushing to defend traditional marriage by preventing other couples from getting married and trying to void the marriage of these two women. And the reason he's doing this is that he's actually one of these conservative Christians who thinks that marriage is one man, one woman. Unless you divorce your first spouse, and then you can well, actually, I don't know if he believes that or not, but
yeah, I don't know. I know one thing that he talked about was that he was protecting the will of Texans.
Right.
The Texans had decided that marriage was one man, one woman, and he needed to protect their will. And that sort of reasoning would have also prevented interracial marriage,
right,
or the elimination of slavery. I mean, it was the will of people to
right,
keep owning slaves. So never mind what that court has to say, until people vote to voluntarily give up slavery or allow interracial couples to marry or allow same-sex couples to marry, we're stuck. Obviously, the law doesn't work that way, and it's a shame that we have an attorney general who seems to think that that's the case.
Right. We have an attorney general who seems to think that's the case. We have a governor who seems to think that's the case. We have a lieutenant governor who thinks that's the case, and far too many legislators, because actually there's a bill before both houses of the Texas Leg right now. I'll read the Senate version of it to you. Basically, it says that government may not burden an individual's or religious organization's freedom of religion or right to act or refuse to act in a manner motivated by a sincerely held religious belief unless the government proves that the burden is in furtherance of a compelling governmental interest and is the least restrictive means of furthering that interest. For purposes of this subsection, the term burden includes indirect burdens such as withholding benefits, assessing penalties, and denying access to facilities or programs. So in other words, if somebody is getting some kind of government contract or benefit, and they decide that their religious beliefs prevent them from serving a certain subset of the population, then this bill would prevent the government from withholding state or federal benefits, well, state benefits anyway, because of a business's discriminatory practices. In other words, it would be a disaster. Chaos will ensue because people will invoke religious beliefs to deny service or whatever to anyone.
This reminds me, this is following a very similar path to abortion.
Yeah.
In that there's a segment of the population that wants something to be or remain illegal.
Right.
And they keep losing because people around them are eminently more reasonable and fair and caring.
Right.
And so then they start not creating laws that are specifically subversive or directly subversive to what they want
right.
To eliminate, but are indirectly, having requiring doctors to have admitting
laws,
rights,
yeah.
the trap laws, and things like that.
Yeah.
And now they're doing the same thing with regard to marriage equality. I hope the ways in which this particular law could be used, I am incredibly optimistic will actually backfire. Because I mean, this is something like, right now, if you own like a flower shop that's where you service the community, you can't deny service to same-sex couples.
Right.
Because you have a publicly, or if you have a venue, and it's open to everybody, then it has to be open to everybody who can legally marry. This would allow people to say, nope, no gay marriages here. Nope, I'm not going to do this for that. I'm cautiously optimistic that even with this law, there'll be enough people that are like, well, yeah, absolutely. You want to give me money for a service, and your marriage is just as likely to last as my ex-stepmother's did, so why not? What difference does it make to me who's getting married? I'm hopeful that there are enough people that this doesn't end up having much impact, but it could.
Yeah.
And it's the type of law that, if it's on the books, we need to scrub it, and we certainly shouldn't be having them added.
But this is an example of why when you see a lot of laws or rulings at the Supreme Court level that end up having the effect of extending liberty to everyone, this is why a lot of those have Texas somewhere in there. It's because Texas has a history of overreaching on things like this. This law is blatantly unconstitutional. It does not pass muster, okay? No way this survives.
And it's
But-
too vague. I mean,
Yeah,
so they
it
did this.
is.
They did this before when they went to kind of define marriage. They defined it in a way that nobody could be married.
Right, yes, yes. The Texas ban on gay marriage, actually, if you read the letter of the law, it actually bans marriage in Texas, but, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway. But yeah, I think this is the sort of thing that you know, results in a Supreme Court decision that, you know, puts an end to all of this kind of nonsense. But you would think that just a simple reading of the Constitution would be enough, but apparently it isn't.
So we almost and very briefly had marriage equality in Texas, and we will
Yes.
again.
We will again.
This is inevitable. I mean, I've said before that this is now a race to see which state is so backward,
is
Bible
last,
bent,
yeah.
and bigoted that they're the last ones, you know. And I thought it was going to be Mississippi, but I was wrong.
Yeah?
I don't think Mississippi will. I think now, I don't think Texas is going to be the last one either, given the advances we've made. It'd be
Yeah.
cool if it was like some random northern state that nobody suspected, you know. But what's
Yeah.
more likely going to happen is that this is going to, we've reached a tipping point where we're, you know, over the 50% stage now. And then there'll be a U.S. Supreme Court case that just makes it the law of the land. And then rather than having one state be embarrassed for being last, there'll be like a collection of states that are only moderately embarrassed for not acting fast enough.
Right. Yeah. The last 13.
Yeah.
You know. Even Alabama is in the 37 that allows it. I mean, come on, guys. I'm from Alabama, by the way.
Alabama.
Yeah. I could get married in Birmingham, but I can't get married in Austin. There's something wrong with that.
Soon.
Yes.